kids your age think they're invincible. You actually are invincible.
You need to decide what kind of hero you want to be.
I want to be just like you.
This is the beginning of a long journey for you.
Don't you understand? This is about progress, science, saving the human race from disease.
You heard it up top, folks. Welcome back to Normies Like Us. On a heroic episode, we're talking a different kind of comic book universe. We talk Invincible, the new Amazon show and the comic, here on Normies Like Us with your hosts, Colin.
Oh, man, that was what I was going to do. I guess I'll be Michael Head.
Oh, man, I did not prepare anything, but I am Jake Plode.
Amazing. Jake Plode was perfect. Mike Vincible, none of these things very quickly came to mind. The thing we're talking about today.
I was chilling on Omni-Mike, thinking someone would do that, but then we could have also had Monster Cobb, but that didn't happen, so
right,
I guess we'll just have to do our best.
I was thinking of Rex Splode, my favorite character.
That's right.
Great character.
Definitely some interesting, colorful characters in this show, and honestly, I probably like this more than I thought just off the top. And Colin, you've been a big kind of proponent of this. You've been higher on this than you have been on Falcon and Winter Soldier. So, tell us kind of.
I've been a little aggressive on my comic book content lately. Mm-hmm. Normies, we live in a post-Snyderverse world. Maybe it's brainwashed me. I don't know what's going on, but I'm here for the hyperviolence. I'm here for a Robert Kirkman comic book. Mm-hmm. So I got to ask up top. The last time we talked to Robert Kirkman, that was Walking Dead. Normies, go back and listen, one of our Halloween episodes. Guys, they just wrapped up season 2. Season 2. The second to last season, season 12. A season they split because of COVID. And now this summer they're coming back with their last season. Is anybody caught up on The Walking Dead?
No.
Wow.
No way.
See, maybe this is why I was a little cold on the idea of Invincible, because I was a fan of The Walking Dead early on, and I had read some of the comic books, and I just fell off of it. It's almost like the Supernatural route. Like after 9 or 10 seasons, I can't do it anymore. So right. I kind of did fall off of The Walking Dead. So I was pleasantly surprised, let's say, by how, in a world saturated with superhero stuff, by how refreshing this turned out to be. Like I actually did enjoy it, especially as someone who was in the camp of Walking Dead burnout, so to speak.
Right. Well, the thing is with The Walking Dead, you got to remember is so Robert Kirkman, he made the comics, right? So he's not the showrunner of the show. He does have input on the show, but if you're comparing the show, he doesn't really have as much to do with that as with Invincible, where he wrote the original comic and he's like the overall showrunner, right?
So creator, producer, totally. Yeah, he's not
so
the Greg Nicotero of Invincible, sure.
Right.
So it's a more direct adaptation of his own work. For me, I didn't know that much about it going into it. So I was just like, oh, I knew it was made by Robert Kirkman. I knew it was about like superheroes. So really, it kind of got me the switcheroo of like, it's like a standard hero's journey type thing. And then all of a sudden there's all this violence and, the twist of his dad and everything. So that really got me because I wasn't expecting it at all. So I appreciate that. So I've been enjoying it so far.
Yeah, surprise. So Colin, thank you for being so aggressive into getting us to watch this. I have enjoyed it. We've got 6 episodes. I've watched all of them. Jacob, Colin, I assume you guys as well. And there's 2 left. So I think what we'll do is talk where we're at on the season, a little background of the history of the comic book, which I don't know a whole lot about, and then maybe predictions for what we're going to see in the upcoming episodes, right?
Totally, Mike. Totally, Normies. Spoilers, obviously, when we jump. But let's go ahead. Let's dive into Invincible. Coming up next.
Come on.
Knock it off, Todd.
I think Amber's been pretty clear about how she feels. I'm nothing like my dad. I want to be just like you.
I fought to keep this planet safe. Your power's got to be due any day now, son.
Morning.
Kapow, we're back. We're talking Invincible on Normies Like Us. That's right. The superhero show about a super teen going through super puberty. Pretty good premise, if you ask me. Mike, we were just saying Walking Dead. Robert Kirkman, his involvement in that show, like we were saying, not totally him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jacob said too, much more involved in the show of Invincible. Well, that's because if you're a comic book nerd, you would know this is what he considers his magnum opus, even though obviously Walking Dead has made him a very, very, very successful man.
So he considers this kind of his most personal work, his favorite kind of thing he's worked on.
Totally.
I like that. Then he's taking more hands-on approach, because I think with The Walking Dead, especially if we think earlier seasons were a little bit closer to the books, at least in some of the major beats and stuff. The way he's able to take a genre and put an interesting spin on it, and I think he did that with zombies that were kind of played out by the time The Walking Dead came back and like revitalized that genre. And this is like feeling almost like another Amazon show, The Boys, like feeling like a fresh take, but almost, an animated version of that. Yeah, it's very fun, and again, unexpected.
Totally. Yeah, I was gonna make the Boys comparison too, because those are two kind of shows that are about superheroes, but also like commenting on the superhero genre, and they're kind of like a postmodern superhero take, right?
Yeah.
So they do have a lot of similarities.
I mean, do we have a quick rundown, let's say, of the history of the comic and like where this character is coming from, Invincible, and in the show played by Steve Yen?
Totally. So Robert Kirkman, again, normies, if you're not familiar with him, famous comic book writer. And I'm not just talking about the stuff he creates. He's a Spider-Man writer. He's an in-house writer at Marvel and DC. He's going back and forth. Like a lot of these guys, he's not making a fucking dime. It's just all freelance work. He's not really getting paid for it. Image Comics comes to exist. I don't have the exact list of creators in front of me, but Image Comics is sort of a creator-owned comic book label. Jim Lee, a huge DC guy. Todd McFarlane, a huge Marvel guy. Spawn. I mean, that all comes from Image, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they buy up a lot of weird indie properties. So he just starts making Walking Dead for them. It's one of the most successful books of all time. And he literally comes on as one of the partners now, something they don't do outside of founders. Like, they take him in an Image and say, okay, like, you just joined the top dogs. What is your next idea? What do you want to do? He is allowed to create an imprint that's sort of like a separate label that a comic book would put out that he would have more control over, called Skybound. Mm-hmm. And he says, I'm a comic book nerd. Like, literally what every one of these guys wants to do is do their own Marvel or DC, right? So, like, let me do a comic book superhero universe. And he comes up with, like, a super violent parody one, like we were saying.
Yeah. And what do we think about this universe, Jacob? I mean, like we say, it's a coming of age, but it's a little bit different. And obviously our focus of the series is the character of Invincible.
Right.
Yeah.
Nolan Grayson.
Mark.
Yeah.
Mark Grayson.
Son
Grayson?
of Nolan.
Oh, right.
Which
yeah,
the Graysons is, starting, comic nod to Batman.
He's a nerd,
Right.
Mike. Come on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I was kind of taken, by surprise by the violence, because there is like a warning at the beginning of the first episode, but I guess I didn't notice that. And then it starts out as like a typical, kid getting his superpowers, coming to age kind of thing. And then all of a sudden there's, a ton of graphic violence. And, we said spoilers, right? But basically the first episode ends with Mark's dad, who's like the Superman of this universe, like
Omni-man,
basically
yeah.
massacring the entire Justice League, right?
Yeah.
Or their version of the Justice League. So that kind of took me by surprise, and I thought, well, that was pretty crazy. So I guess that gave me the hook to keep watching. I mean, I was probably going to watch anyways, but like I was kind of like, oh, this is kind of cute. It's fun. It's like a little superhero thing. And then all of a sudden it kind of took a left turn. So that's what really hooked me into watching the rest of it.
Yeah, it presents up this interesting mystery. It introduces us to Mark, and his father, Nolan, Omni-Man, is the Superman figure. And then, with this new Justice League, and they set it up as if like they do a whole battle with this pseudo Justice League, and you think they're going to stick around for a long time, and they pull the rug right. It's like Scream, you know, and they set it up in the first act and then kill that character.
Can I ask, do you guys like the one-to-one nature? Like Jacob, when you're seeing like literally, it's a fish guy. He's the parody of Aquaman. You know, does that work for you?
Some were really funny for me, like the Russian Flash guy, and then
Red Rush.
Yeah. And there's one guy that's like a combination of like Vandal Savage and Superman or something, like the leader
Immortal.
of the team. Yeah. So he's taking Vandal Savage's powers, which is interesting. But another fun fact about that superhero team that I thought was really fun is the voice acting, right? There's a lot of really good voice acting and big names in this show. But that group that all gets killed in the first episode, all voiced by Walking Dead actors.
Yes, you did point that out. That's incredible.
So we have Glenn doing the main character, right? Then all of them are different actors that were on The Walking Dead at one point, and even some other characters are Walking Dead. So there's a lot of Walking Dead family involved in this.
Alumni, right?
Yeah.
Get Andrew Lincoln on this thing. Come on.
Right.
Yeah, right. Because dulcet tones, he could be the Fishman. He could have talked all about coral, but they missed that opportunity.
Yeah. Like the Fishman is Aaron from The Walking Dead, and then they're all just even Michael Burnham from Star Trek and from The Walking Dead. Sasha, she plays a character, so
that's right. She's both
pretty
those.
Cool.
Not the only Star Trek cameo, but we'll get to that a little later. That's in my back pocket. Yeah, I thought this was an interesting twist, and especially because I'm looking at it on its face. The premise feels like, it's Spider-Man, but Superman's his dad. But then the twist, but also Superman might be evil, and now there's this mystery. So it's like, but it is that teen. Can he balance his teen life and dating? Colin, like, what do you think about kind of the execution of this?
I just want to even say to the setup, Mike, Normies, I urge you to go back and listen to our Boys episode. I listened to it right before this one. Unlike Umbrella Academy, Jacob, you pointed out, in the Boys episode, Umbrella Academy, the Boys, it seems like they're really changing the material for the better, right? Umbrella Academy, that's because there wasn't really that much to adapt, really. It's just kind of an empty thing. The setup of the Boys is the Dark Justice League. We are getting the parody. This is the parody of the superhero genre. That is what Invincible and the Boys have in common. But that setup of, well, the Superman stand-in Homelander, what if he was just a psychopath? Yeah, that is cool and interesting. But Invincible to make it, what if he is kind of a psychopath, but what if that fucking psychopath has a Superboy? What if he has a family that he has to tangibly hold on to onto this planet? Can he balance that too? I like that he's not alone.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like almost his plan went awry because he fell in love with a human woman, and that like complicated things, and now he's kind of having to deal with that while still, doing his plan. But it's interesting because obviously the big tension of things is like, oh, when Mark finds out what's going on, is he going to side with, his mom and the humans, or is he going to side with his dad? That's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
Totally.
I mean, the murder of the Guardians of Earth or whatever, that they have some pseudo...
Guardians of the Globe,
right? The GGs. It starts an investigation. They got a Hellboy analog. This demon detective is very interesting. Good. And so we're slowly unraveling the threads. And I like even that the mother gets involved so that the human character has something to contribute to the story. And she's kind of unraveling things as well. And it's doing a very good job of balancing.
You guys are totally hitting plot points. I'm loving this. Let's step back for a second. Let me ask you this question. Mike, have you read this comic book at all?
Good question, and no. Go back and listen
Jacob,
to any
have you read
episode.
this comic book at all?
No, I have not.
Have you?
I got a handful of trades. Literally, it's just things my brother handed off to me when he went away to college. Literally, I've got the fucking for sale sticker on these guys. September 2008. So kind of around the time it was popping up. Kind of on that train.
Nice.
Just worth pointing out because you guys are so like, oh, it's interesting this is happening. It's interesting this is happening. I would urge any normies, and you guys as well, if you're watching this and you think you know where the story is headed, I promise you it is so much sweeter and there are so many more turns, and maybe don't spoil yourself. I'm happy to talk about what we're going to talk about today, but very purposely did not send you guys any videos that were like, the history of Invincible or anything like that. Don't dig into it too much. It is a fun story to let play out.
Well, Colin, we were talking a little bit off pod, and you said that like the pace they're going through the comic storylines is like so much faster than you would think.
Yes.
That's
It's
interesting, yeah.
Jacob, it's my only worry about it because it is so rich in the book. When people say it's Kirkman's best and he's so proud of it, again, you guys are looking and thinking like, well, no, it has to be that thing where a guy yells coral and cuts a zombie's head off because I've known what that was for the past 10 years and it redefined a genre. But I swear to God, it is such a fucking good comic book. And it's one of the rare times I did not say on The Boys read the books. I, in fact, very explicitly said, stay away, Garth Ennis is a maniac. Like these, I really do recommend you check out.
That's actually a really interesting thing that you bring up, because as I'm watching these episodes, I'm really enjoying them. And I started the first one, then back to back to back. And they're introducing so many characters that I find super fascinating. Like the clones, for example. And it's like, there's just so little backstory, but you can tell it's rich, but like I want more, and the show is moving quick, but I'm fascinated by everything in this universe, so it's good to know there's more in the book.
The world feels really fleshed out, and
I thought it would be watered down, right? Like it's like this, like a thin analog of some comic universe, but it's not.
Right.
It's deep and fully realized, and I really appreciate that.
The one-to-one, I still think there's something worth to go like, oh, that's the Atom character, Shrinking Ray. That's kind of funny. You know, there is entertainment just in that if you're just that base.
Right. And I think that's the other thing that it shares in common with the boys is like they both feel like, even though they are parody and they're like commenting on the superhero genre, they do feel like fleshed out real worlds. So I appreciate that.
The other thing too is I think there's inventive use of powers, you know, like even on the level of just the domestic stuff with Omni-Man. It's like the fact he's like, oh, go to Rome and get this pasta and then go over here. And like, of course you would do that, right? If you were married,
Right,
and like you could fly around the world, you could go get, that's the first thing I would do. I'd be getting, sushi in Tokyo right now.
I like seeing, just that, because that is a very unique take on superpowers, Mike. You don't see that stuff. I like seeing the fearlessness when he's on that date with his wife and she's saying, please save us, please save us, please save us. And he goes, I'm not working. I'm also not scared. I'm here and I'm present with you right now. That is such a scary take on reality, heightened reality, right?
Yeah, I'm off the clock, This isn't, my problem. I'm here with my wife, right? And it's like,
right. And we don't know Omni-Man's true motives, but he might be, crazy, he might be a sociopath, but he is from a planet called Viltra-might, so he might be
the Viltra-mites.
infiltrate
Let's get into the
Earth
casting,
or
Jacob.
something. Yeah.
Again, in the Boys episode, you had kind of said, Giancarlo Esposito, are you going to do this forever, this kind of typecasting? I pose this to you, Jacob. J.K. Simmons, is this kind of typecasting as Omni-Man?
He's had a lot of roles that are maybe similar, but I don't think he's as typecast because he has a lot of range in different movies. If you think about like Whiplash, I mean that's kind of his most iconic role at this point, but he can also do other kind of roles like where
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's in that. J. Jonah Jameson. I guess that's kind of similar too. So maybe you're right. Maybe he is a little typecast. But
do you like him as Omni-Man though?
Yeah, I think one of the standout parts of this whole show is the voice cast as a whole, because it's just so. I mean, there's so many big names in here, even for like little cameos. It's kind of crazy. But definitely, J.K. Simmons, Sandra Oh are great. But then you even get like Mark Hamill, as a minor character. You get, all these big names. So it's kind of amazing. And the other thing I was going to say is like, so obviously watching on Amazon, not to shill for Amazon or anything, but what's cool about it is when you can actually pause it at certain points and you can see, like not only you can see the voice cast, you can also see like trivia, right? So they'll say like, this suit was, Invincible's suit in this issue. It's like so there's a lot of fun trivia like that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. again, not chill Amazon, but it is cool having that X-ray feature, seeing like,
Right.
it's Gillian Andrews, I believe, from
Oh yeah, Gillian Jacobs
Gillian
from
Jacobs.
Community. Yeah.
Yeah. Very talented
Yeah, a lot
voice
of
cast.
yeah, and then like you said, even Zachary Quinto, Spock
Another
from
Star
the J.J.
Trek.
Abrams. Yeah.
Yep. Well, I guess to get the last one out of the way, I was saying Battle Beast, Michael Dorn.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
The guy
Yeah.
who beats
Guy
up
that basically-
on our hero
Yeah.
and then gets
Yeah.
bored.
Thok the Battle Beast, a character
He's
Robert
probably my
Kirkman
favorite.
creates for different comic book, who just injects this. I don't know if you guys know this, but like he does that a lot. He has a lot of that imprint Skybound. When you're like, oh, I bet he's only like made like 5 comics, right? Technically, there's another show of Robert Kirkman's we could cover in a future episode called Outcast on Stars about like possession. I don't know if we ever will, maybe for Halloween or something, but
The same universe as this.
no, it's just this idea of, things that he has produced. That's a live action TV show he has. Thok the
wow.
Battle Beast is just in other stuff. This character Savage Dragon, which is the character or the comic book that Invincible himself first appeared in, is just this weird thing that this guy, I believe, named Richard Lawson created at Image. There is this whole Image verse, I would call it.
Yeah, and Savage Dragon is the guy with like a mohawk. It's like a Finn mohawk. He's all green.
He was a weird one in the 90s when we would go to comic book stores. A lot of the people who owned the shops would love Savage Dragon, have like huge posters of him. The entire hook is, what if Superman, he's like a big green monster, but he's kind of like he came to our planet or whatever. What if he just joined the Chicago PD and he had to be a cop and had to follow the jurisdiction of it? So
Weird.
again, Image, if you're looking for like dumb takes on stuff, it's different than Marvel and DC. That's all I'll say.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Well, back to touch on J.K. Simmons and the voice casting and mentioning that Robert Kirkman has another
Do you
live
like
action
him?
show. I do like him because, talking about The Boys, it's like, do we wish this could have been live action, which I'll let you guys answer here in a second. And maybe, but I like that, for example, we can have J.K. Simmons in a role that maybe he physically would not be able to do.
Right.
No offense, but, with action scenes and, but lending his voice to a character, like Omni-Man, it fits really well. So in that way, I think the animated style really suits it.
Yeah, I think. I would prefer a show like this be animated because you can do so much more with animation for a lot less money. And you can do the scale and stuff like that, which with live action you need millions of dollars to do large scale battles and that sort of thing. So I think there's a lot more you can do with animation.
Going to Mount Rushmore, all the locations, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And the comic book has those scenes, but when people describe it as violent and they say it's known for its outrageous blood and gore and stuff, it's really like tight. It's like these really close-up panels or almost like medium shots where you'll just sort of see still action and like explosions in the background. So to see fluidity to it, I love that it's animated. I love animated shows. I worry sometimes budget-wise and that it's such a weird short episode order. Sometimes I don't think the character animations or just the background conversation stuff looks good, but then there's one action scene in an episode that looks incredible, so it's kind of worth it maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
You get into the animation paradox. Where do we spend our money? If someone's talking,
Yeah.
let's only move their mouth. The old anime
We
technique.
need
Right.
every character. It's just those things you ask yourselves. We talked about it in the Aladdin episode, but there's these things that you go through. Recycling the voice cast, the fact that they have such a large one now for such a large ensemble, I would wonder if that will always stay that way. I don't know, but I love it. Well, the fact that we just had an episode where the guest star was Ezra Miller, the Flash, as a guy who
Right.
makes sex zombies in a basement. It's like this is almost incredible. Or that Seth Rogen, which we should say, this is the third comic book adaptation of Rogen and Goldberg. We talked about Preacher. We didn't do an episode, but we brought it up in The Boys. They're also responsible for The Boys as well. But their second Amazon product with The Boys live action and this animated. And, I love having Seth Rogen as Alan the alien, who, believe it or not, in the comic books is like the secondary character. Like he's like a huge role in it. And it's like, that'll be fun to see.
You hear it?
I do.
Get ready. Nervous?
A little.
But you caught it.
I did.
Being a superhero is no different. This is the beginning of a long journey for you and me. Along the way, you're going to need to do things you don't want to do, or might not think you can do. It's okay to be scared. It's natural to doubt yourself. But if you can push through that and do what needs to be done, you'll do just fine. You think you can do that, Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think with having, it be animated, you can get these big name guest stars to like Ezra Miller to do an episode, right? And like it's much easier to get them just to record some voice lines rather than come in and shoot a bunch of stuff. So
Totally.
that's how you can have Mark Hamill, who obviously you might know him as Luke Skywalker, but in voice acting circles, he's almost as famous for, being the Joker, right? During the Kevin
Motherfucker
Conroy
loves
era
voice
Batman.
acting.
Well, even in Arkham
Yeah.
games, they get Mark Hamill back and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's an iconic voice actor. So to get him even in a small part and to get some of these other actors, like I think it's really cool.
Especially
Very
for
cool.
comic fans. It's almost a stamp of approval to get Mark Hamill's voice on something that you worked on. Like I would be very proud of that if I was
Right.
the creator of this,
Totally.
And Jacob said the voice cast, I'll be honest with you, when I read these things now, as I have repicked them up as I'm watching along, I just insert their voices in. It's not me doing dumb voices in my head anymore. I can be like Stephen Yeun, who's about to be an Academy Award winner, let's say, is awesome as Mark.
I don't know if
and
he's
I'm
gonna
very
win.
happy to replace him. How dare you?
I mean, I hope he does.
Nominated very well could, but
Yeah.
I think he does a great job here with Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, he's a little older than the character, but that's okay. I mean, with animation, you can really do anything. So he might be, in his 30s, but he can play a high school student, and you don't even notice.
About Mahershala Ali coming in as Titan, a very
Another
cool
vo-
character.
A
With a twist.
two-time Oscar winner.
I mean,
Mahershala Ali.
huge
And gonna
talent
be
coming in to be
Blade.
like, yeah, I'll be a character in like 2 episodes. Titan's somebody who's in a ton of run of the comics. It takes a lot longer to get there. Much more of a direct Human Torch meets The Thing parody as well. He has to say the magic phrase "rock on" to turn his rock power on in the comics. Very happy they didn't do that.
Oh wow. That's
Well,
good.
it's kind of like Shazam.
Unlike making Cyborg say booyah in the
Ooh, don't you dare make him do that,
Right.
Mike. He will
No.
sue you. But
No.
I loved it. I thought that was the best episode by far because this breakneck pace that they had been going for the first 2 to go. Okay, we're going. Let's slow down. We get that entire montage of Titan up top where we're just on him for a while. We don't even see Mark. We don't even see Nolan or what they're up to. Then we get a very fully fleshed out episode about a character. I really liked that one.
Yeah, I love this episode, and especially the way they take tropes and twist them around. The whole episode is Mark wants to be a hero. Nolan's saying, don't do it. His mother's saying, it's never beneath you to help someone. Lo and behold, he was, being manipulated the entire time, right? And so he
Right.
should have trusted his dad, but
Michael
on the
Dorn
other
gonna
side,
fuck you up.
yeah.
And you get the sympathetic backstory of Titan, so you think, oh, obviously this character is, a good guy, but then at the end the twist is like, oh, he's doing it for his family, but also like he's not exactly 100% a good guy, right? So
I haven't
it's
seen
kinda
it,
more
but it's like The
realistic look.
Wire, Jacob, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, if you got to plug up those holes of villainy, maybe I'm the guy who plugs up the hole.
Right, it's all part of the game. But I also really like the villain in that episode, like the machine head guy.
Oh,
He's kind
yeah.
of like a crime boss, but he's also a robot, so he talks like a robot. I just
But
thought
he's
that was really funny.
auto-tuned too. There's a
Yeah,
melodic
very
quality to it, which I don't know.
Yeah,
if
well,
that
you're
would
reading
read
that,
in the
Mike.
comic.
You're not like, I bet he's auto-tuned. Auto-tuned didn't
Yeah.
exist in 2007 when
Right.
I was fucking reading these books. So now
It's
it's
a great
just
way to
hilarious.
portray the machine voice. Like I thought that was really funny.
Very clever.
Yeah, and just a fun power of like, yeah, I just calculate possibilities and am prepared for every outcome. That's a very D&D thing. Like dragons will do that. They'll just lie in their treasure room and think of every way someone might attack them, and they are always prepared.
Mike,
Right.
always thinking what dragons are thinking.
Yeah,
Now, we talked action for a little bit, and we kind of talked, animation, what it looks like. Obviously, the other pole of this is the soap opera-esque drama, or the fact that it is a kid growing up, right? Every few episodes, we get the relationship drama. We get stuff with him trying to maintain a job as a kid. He's late everywhere he goes. He's making everyone in his life more frustrated. And this one, he kind of couldn't even go on a college field trip. And his friend, Adam Eve, realized she can't go to college with this lifestyle and these superpowers. Seeing that juggle, do you guys like this sort of take on it too?
Yeah, I mean the thing with the girlfriend where it's like, oh, he's always late, he's not appearing. Like eventually, like we've seen that like a million different times with superhero stories, right?
Gonna
So
run
that's
its
kind
course on you, right?
yeah. So that's a little been there, seen that before. Eventually, she has to either find out about his powers, or they'll break up or whatever. But that was kind of done after like Spider-Man, Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. I feel like the movies. So. But
You'll never
otherwise,
top. They couldn't go to MJ's theater performance scene, but
exactly.
it flirts with it. Yeah.
But it's typical comic book stuff, and I think as a whole, it works together. So.
And that's why I said at the top, that's where the Spider-Man but Superman is his dad parallel. It's really the balancing of high school life and your new responsibilities, and it does a good job. We've seen this kind of thing, but I think it does enough. I think because of the brutal nature of what he encounters to give it some more kind of weight to it. But it is, we've seen it, but it has its own flavor.
Yeah, I kind of just tolerate that stuff because I'm more interested in like the weirder stuff of like just the universe and like his dad's motives and like the Hellboy character, the Hellboy meets
Amazing.
Rorschach type detective character. That's great. There's a lot of cool stuff in this universe that I'm like, oh, like what's that all about? Like the Martian stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that they could dive into more that I would be like really interested in.
Yeah, Hellboy Detective's got his notebook as a Necronomicon. It's just
right.
What an amazing detail.
I
Clancy
love it.
Brown, maybe my favorite actor of all time, character actor extraordinaire. So happy that he's in this. And again, that kind of takes an angle where did you guys see that coming? That he would be given up so early to maintain the status quo, that the government is still trying to research Omni-Man, but we got to kind of get him off the scent too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think the Walton Goggins character, the Nick Fury or whoever, if you will, of this universe, kind of he already knows that Omni-Man killed them, right? He just is trying to figure out why and how they can stop Omni-Man if they have to, and also
If they can.
Right, and also they want to try to get Mark on their side because Mark might be the only thing that can stop his father.
Yep. And then we have the aptly named Robot. He's trying to figure some stuff out too.
An interesting take there, Mike. Zachary Quinto, we mentioned him before. Somebody I always like. I mean, I've said I'm a self-professed huge fan of this, JJ.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Guys, Siler, come on. One of the best characters of all time, Heroes episode when.
I thought it was cool.
Again, the draw of the comics is Robot's the leader of the teen team for a while. And, when he reassembles the Guardians of the Globe, he is on the up and up because he is just Robot. And to see him go bad so quick is sort of let's get there, because he kind of ends up being pretty important to that world.
Yeah, and we don't even know his true motivations yet. I mean, we know he helped those clone guys escape because he wants their cloning technology, but we don't know what for. And then we also see a more sympathetic side of him where he's, kind of nursing Monster Girl back to health and all this stuff. So he obviously does have like human characteristics, even though he is a robot. So I'm very interested in his character and where they're going with that as well.
Yeah, but where can we get a guy with no emotion in his Spock? Get the Spock guy,
It's
so we actually have Spock
typecasting.
and Spock's sister in this show. Isn't that
That's
amazing?
right. Wow. Yeah. Oh God, I forgot that was a thing.
And
Wait,
Worf.
she's Spock's sister on that show?
Adopted sister, right?
Yeah, adopted
gets
sister.
adopted
Well,
by
because
their
Spock
family.
is half human because his mom is human, right?
And
That
then I
makes
think
her very
she gets
important to
adopted
that
by
universe.
Sirach. She's very important to the universe. She goes time travel, but that's
Yeah.
another show.
Boo. All right, well, back here. The Mahler twins, Kevin Michael Richardson, just kind of a veteran voice actor. Cleveland Jr. from the Cleveland Show, I'll shout that out. He's done a million things as the Mahler twins.
Sure.
Super hilarious. Their introduction in that first episode where they're attacking the White House, and you get Secret Service agent John Hamm.
Right. That's like the first voice you hear on the show is John Hamm.
You're like, what are you set up to even believe that this show is, Jacob? Because it's like, he's not coming back. Or maybe he is. Like, I don't think he is.
Right.
It's like George Clooney being the dog in South Park. It's like...
Yeah. That is good.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah. I mean... I think that's the strength. Like those clone brothers, like the way they're just like, I'm the original, and like just little stuff like that. Like it's things that I've never seen
funny
before.
Take on it.
Yeah, the aliens that just get old for no reason, and then they keep going back and trying to figure it out. Like it's awesome.
Mike,
it's interesting.
Rexplode, the Gambit character of the universe. Gambit is a Lothario in Marvel. Oh, Mon Cher, he's always grabbing Rogue's ass. What if you actually saw him have the implications in Fallout of being sort of a Lothario card, right? And he has this threesome with Duplicate, and it's ruining things. Like Adam Eve will not be on the superhero team because of that. You wouldn't get that in Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
Right.
The X-Men would
again
always
voiced by
band together.
Jason Mantzoukas, our
Hooray.
big fan favorite. Those alien invaders that kept aging, that was really funny. That almost felt like out of a Rick and Morty or something, where it's just like a wacky sci-fi
Twilight
concept.
Zone, a Rick and Morty. You're totally right. That's just a perfect one-off. The thing on Mars that's kind of like Starro, something we'll be talking about in Suicide Squad, that just takes over human beings. A very interesting, cool sci-fi concept.
Yeah.
Again, Robert Kirkman is a good writer. I know that's shocking to say about this generation of people like him and Michael Bendis and all these other people who now people just kind of roll their eyes at. But there's a reason he made 194 issues of The Walking Dead and 140 issues of Invincible. And the cool thing about Invincible, that I should say as well, is that it was designed with an ending in sight. He looks at Mark's story and goes, I know where this is heading. So it's not this big open world where you're going to get this different interpretation of, well, what's this guy's opinion of the Invincible universe? No, for the most part, it's just Ryan Otley, the guy who did the art for it as well, pretty much the whole time. Like, it's a very singular vision of this team.
Nice.
Right. So here's the thing. To compare it to something like Walking Dead, the TV show, the problem with that is like they started out adapting the storylines from the comics, but then after a certain point, they kind of just did whatever. Like sometimes they used stuff from the comics, sometimes they split off, and they also slowed events down a lot. Like with the Negan introduction, Negan became the big bad for like 3 or 4 seasons when he was, in the comics. The pace was a lot faster, so like they slowed his storyline down to like 4 seasons.
Negan is such a perfect example, Jacob. I was going to say Michonne. There was these moments where Robert Kirkman would create a really cool character in the comic books, and the Walking Dead producers would be like, well, we got to get this character in there now, and they'd be like, well, no, we're like 4 arcs, quote unquote, away from figuring that out, and there's all these logistics, and the producers would just say, no, we gotta get him in there now. And you could feel that. That is my big fear for Invincible. But, again, he's got more creative control, so hopefully Jeff Bezos isn't going to say, well, we got to get to the good stuff. That being said, Mike said there's only 2 episodes left. It's, a 9-episode order. Has not been renewed for a season 2 yet. Do you guys want more?
Yeah.
It all depends on where it's going. And is it 9? I thought it was 8 episodes, but I could be wrong.
8 episodes.
8 total. So, yeah, there's 2 left.
The Falcon model, I guess. Or what did they get, 6?
They got 6. WandaVision was 8. Who knows? Go back and listen to our episodes. We have the right answers in those.
Well, that's the thing is, I'm watching this show every week, and I'm watching Captain Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I like this show better. So I'd rather get another season of this, than watch more. Not that, I'm totally hating, that other show, but it's just, this one's, to me, it's more engaging at this point.
It's the deluge of superhero content. Does this stand out even? So, Mike, you're saying you're maybe not even sold on another season yet, but are you racing to watch this one over some other stuff? Is Invincible standing out to you?
Yeah, I mean, let me tell you, as we were getting ready for this episode, again, I was probably the most skeptical of us 3 as to whether I would like it, and as soon as I started the first episode, it was next, and when I got to the end of 6, I was like, no, I'm not done, am I? Like, I was totally hooked by the premise, the characters, the world, and I like Falcon and the Winter Soldier too, but this is definitely something that's high up on my priority list for as soon as it comes out, I'm ready to watch, and I would be interested, depending on where this ends. I don't know where it's going, but if it ends in a point that warrants a continuation, yeah, but if they can wrap everything up in the next 2 episodes, I'm okay with that too, as long as it's a satisfying conclusion, whether that takes 1 season or 2 or 3.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot more story to go, so I think they definitely have more for season 2 and so on.
Yeah, but
I guess that's a question if it's popular enough.
Yeah, and if, as Colin says, they are moving quickly, because even thinking about this last episode 6 with the robot maker who does frat boys, it's like that could have been like a couple episode arc of like figuring that out, like in another show. But in this, it's introduced and solved, right? Done. And that's happened a couple of times. Yeah.
Meant to do that.
Who the hell are you?
I guess I'm working on that. Any suggestions?
Captain Guy with the hole punch team?
Doesn't really roll off the tongue. Anything else?
Well, I think the overarching mystery of his dad, right? That still has not been answered. So, do you think that we're going to get the answers to that in the season finale, or do you think there's going to be a cliffhanger? And what do you think?
I was saying to Jacob, Mike, there are events in the comic books, just the rearranging of how things happen, that happens so much before he even goes to Mars, where you get that answer, Jacob, of kind of, that. I would say it has to be building towards that. It's kind of like you said, it's the plot of this season, quote unquote. But it seems like that's what the cell was. Because I don't know, guys. I always look back and I think about The Tick, where I look at that and I'm like, there was Amazon's first try at a superhero show. It got no buzz. It didn't do anything. And we live in this culture now where, God bless fucking Marvel, but every fucking dumb episode of fucking shit that they put out makes a meme, which is the most important thing to do. Every week now, somebody says it was Agatha all along, or they do a dumb Falcon and Winter Soldier thing.
Well, what's
you didn't
their
even
meme?
really
I guess
get that.
Zemo dancing. Zemo
Zemo dancing, the fact that they got that out so fast, I would say yes, Jacob. There's also the Walker of it all, literally like the how you see yourself, a picture of Steve, what you are, a picture of Walker, right? People do that shit. Zack Snyder's Justice League didn't even get that shit. As hard as that hive of people tried, they didn't. When I look on online awareness or culture or what it's doing, it doesn't seem like Invincible's doing anything other than a bunch of like comic book fans who are like, finally, oh my God, it's so good. Like I looked at Letterboxd where you can't even really do TV shows, but somebody has added Invincible. Sometimes they'll do that. And the comments are all, yes, me want, me so happy. Right. And it's just that group of people is getting satisfied. I hope it satisfies a larger group of people.
Well, let me throw this at you then. You have The Boys, pretty close comparison. So that was Amazon doing a superhero show.
So popular, yes.
Yeah, but that was popular, but that was not something that seemed like it was going to be hugely popular before it came out. But then it actually kind of gained an audience because it was just good, and through word of mouth, people started watching it. So, and that did end up getting some kind of memes and cultural relevancy with
Girls Get It Done. I would say by season 2, Jacob, if this is what you're asking, you're totally right. It grew like crazy.
And
we'd have to get there.
Yeah. You have the Nazi lady, like she was talked about a lot online, and then you have but so I think Invincible to gain more, it needs better word of mouth, I guess, to get people watching it, and then it needs something buzzworthy like that.
And that starts
some huge thing needs to happen. You guys kind of keep hinting at maybe there's going to be a confrontation between the dad and the son. would that be big enough to be that buzzworthy moment to you? Like, oh my God, if somebody #child abuse starts, like trending because it's such an all out brawl, it's like, I don't know. I don't know how they could do it.
Right.
I think, yeah, it's going to probably come down to word of mouth, which starts with you listeners. If you like the show, tell people about it, right? Like the same way we're trying to tell people about it. But the finale of this season, if it does something like really profound and powerful, whether that's the confrontation,
it moves the needle.
How that lands is going to dictate how you can pitch it to other people to watch it. Like, you can't tell anybody, you should watch Game of Thrones from start to finish anymore. Right.
No.
So
Right.
they need to stick the landing on the end of this season, and that will give it a chance to grow into what The Boys season 2 eventually became.
Because it's kind of just the one thing it's got right now, right? Where like if I said to you guys, oh, Disney Plus has this awesome animated Silver Surfer show. It's so cool. Would you run to check that out right away as much as if I said, and there's some really cool, like Castlevania-esque violent animated scenes? Like that's the thing, but even that's not enough.
That is true. It's walking the line of these two niches of the superhero subgenre and then the animated for adult subgenre. And that's a tricky place to be, I think, to grow something,
Right. Totally.
But I hope it does. I'm enjoying it so far. And
we're meditating on it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the first thing we've covered in a while that hasn't talked about podcasting? They don't talk about podcasting, do they?
They should.
I don't think they've mentioned it so far. It is contemporary.
The Mighty Ducks podcasters and the Godzilla podcasters team up to podcast about Invincible. But all right, we've been caught podcasting about Invincible. I say let's jump over to our final thoughts now. We'll talk our last thoughts here on Invincible on Normies Like Us.
Oh, William! A rematch. Excellent. I'm afraid I witnessed that first scrap and made a few small improvements. Mark! Invincible! He's turning people into those things! You make me sound like a monster. I'm not turning people into anything. I'm fixing humanity's weaknesses.
We're super back on Super Normies Like Us, talking Invincible. Amazon's in the comic. We're doing final thoughts here. I'll throw it out to you guys first, even. Do you like the name Invincible? Do you like his powers? Do you like his costume? And do you like that every episode starts with, by the way, I'm Invincible?
Right.
No one says it, just the title card.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
I think he looks like a dork.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not a big fan of the yellow and blue class. Like really,
kind of an eye, right?
Yeah. An omni-man. I like omni-man's red and white with the circle and the O, and that kind of works. But the yellow and blue only works if you're 90s X-Men.
Right. Hey, there we go.
Yeah, which maybe that's what it's reference to.
Inspiration, Mike.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of his costume. I do like some of the character designs for some of the minor characters. I think are really cool. Like even the members of the team, like Monster Girl, who like ages every time she becomes or she de-ages every time she becomes the monster.
She's the Incredible Hulk, transforms into a green monster, but there's more of a fallout because of those powers. That is a cool take, Jacob.
So yeah, there's some really creative like minor characters that are interesting, more so than Invincible, who's just kind of like has Superman powers. Yeah, his costume is kind of whack, but I guess it's comics accurate to like his costume from the comics. So.
Oh, it's dead on to that. I like the name. I'll be honest with you. I like the joke that every time people are like, "Well, that's kind of hubris, don't you think?" Like you're invincible, and every episode is him getting his ass kicked. Yeah. Fans keep saying, "Well, they really nerfed Mark." Yeah, they keep using that term. Well, everybody's kind of nerfed on the show if you think about it. Like, he's so powered down. He should be X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. Does he get stronger after he gets his ass kicked? The people, they ask questions like that. No, he's not Goku. It is the training angle. It's the fact that he's a young fuck up and he picks fights that he can't finish. That's cool.
Right. And he kind of learned lessons from that. I do think when he was fighting with the Michael Dorn battle lion or whatever. Yeah.
Fuck the battle beast.
He's getting his ass kicked, And then at a certain point, he sees his friends dying or getting hurt really badly. He taps into like a rage, and he does seem to get maybe not stronger, but just more, in tune with his powers or something, where he kind of is able to like, do some damage.
Jacob, you were saying the time stream aliens, a rage we've seen Omni-Man do when he went through the portal to their planet and killed a world. Like it just wordlessly destroyed an entire race of things.
See, this show moves so fast, I forgot that he just went in there and pulled a Rick Sanchez and was like, this planet's fucked. And then he comes back like, oh, what a day. Right? He has dinner with his family. Like,
totally
I need a shower, he said.
Yeah, that's why it reminded me of Rick and Morty so much. But
did we get a cameo from Rick and Morty?
Justin Roiland did a voice in the last episode.
Yeah, he was the drunk guy who got abducted, but then at the end, I think he's also one of the grave robbers that get met up by the clones. But it was very Rick when he's like, I'm Gary fucking whatever, college forever. It's like, okay, very silly. So as much as we always say, the trouble with animated shows is they're always trying to be Rick and Morty. That's still the case here, slightly.
Yeah, maybe. I'll throw it too. I'll keep saying to what Jacob was just saying. That battle against the Battle Beast, where he's getting stronger. He loses anyways, but then we smartly see the team coming together, get that great montage of them working together. But then Michael Dorn's disgust of, this is like pitiful. It's just like, what a great ending to be like, I'm above all this.
Well, he's just, from his character, I just got that he basically just goes to different worlds and looks for like the strongest warrior that he can battle just for the hell of it.
Backstory is basically, what if a Thundercat was raised by Darkseid? He is like a, yes, exactly what you're saying, just a killer.
Sure. Yeah. But it's like, Machine Head promised him that there's some good warriors. He's like, okay, I'll show up. And then now I'm disappointed.
Fucking loser.
Right, leaving, right? There's no honor in defeating these babies.
There's
like,
no honor.
Yeah.
Just a great voice.
That is the strongest episode because, and they someone even calls him out, like, oh, your name's Invincible. You seem pretty vincible, which I like that. And he is very vincible in all of these.
Yeah,
He's constantly getting his ass kicked.
Constantly.
Yeah, so you do feel for him, even though he's the son of, a Superman, and he is invincible in theory. Like, it feels like he can almost die. Like, they really do a good job of putting him on the ropes. Not just physically, but also, like, socially. Like, he's always kind of on the back foot and, like, learning everything from superhero to interpersonal relationships.
He's not a part of the teen team, Mike. Nope. He didn't get a position with the new Guardians of the Globe either. He pretty much goes to Adam Eve for everything he needs to know about the superhero world. It's basically like if you were never allowed in another car and your dad, the best NASCAR driver of all time, was teaching you how to drive. It's just like, but I need some sort of baseline for this. And I think that's just a great take.
Yeah. And I think, are his powers nerfed? He'll probably get stronger as he learns more, right? And also the other thing is he's half human, half Viltra-might. So he's, compared to his dad's powers, I don't think he's ever going to be as strong as his dad.
He's not omni-man.
Yeah, right. He's it's like if you were half Kryptonian, you wouldn't be as strong as a full Kryptonian.
Well, in Dragon Ball Z, I think half Saiyans can actually technically get stronger than full Saiyans.
Back to Dragon Ball.
Oh. But that, correct me if I'm wrong, fans, that could be. But I think now we're in an interesting place for the last two episodes where Mark is, along with Adam Eve, are like questioning whether they want to do the superhero thing, the toll it's taking. We're right at that Spider-Man 2 point of, I got to give up everything that I want for this. No one's grateful. I'm getting my ass kicked. I'm putting people in danger. Fuck it. This is too much. And so he's at that crossroads as well as Adam Eve, and we're going to see what decision he makes, especially if he's ever confronted with the truth about his father. Might push him into action is what I'm kind of predicting. Hopefully nothing happens to his mom. I would think that Omni-Man will hopefully not harm his wife, but I would not put it past him because he seems like a psycho.
Yeah. And I just appreciate it's a different take on, the boys did what if Superman was like a sociopath who was, created in a lab that has like no human emotions or whatever. That's very interesting, but this is different. It's a different evil Superman take, but it's, he has a purpose, he has a plan that he's enacting. I think it's interesting to see where it goes, and also the family complicates things. So I think it will be like an ideological thing between, is Mark going to side with his mom or his dad, the humans or, the bad guys. So I'm
kind
looking
of
forward
Guardians
to
of the Galaxy 2 right, Jacob? We get that.
Right. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I just want to learn the motivations, which we will. I mean, Omni-Man claims to have volunteered. There's like a program of, sending protectors to planets, right? Well, did he volunteer out of, goodwill, or is there an ulterior motive?
right.
Light will
Yeah, I
be
think there's
shed on
definitely
it.
more to the Viltra-mites than we're led to believe.
A pretty good guess. And that is a scary concept. Imagine if you couldn't talk to your father about the world he was from. Like the wife says, you haven't talked about the Viltra-mites since you have been here, since I have known you. And he's like, well, this fucking dumbass kid of mine is kind of the only one I can share this with. Not necessarily that he's even saying that he's the last of his kind, all a Superman, but he is alone in the world.
Yeah. I mean, spoilers for HBO's The Undoing, but if your husband doesn't talk to his family at all, there's a chance he might be a murderer. So watch out, Nicole Kidmans of the world.
That's just a general for all you Nicole Kidmans out there.
All you.
I'll jump in with my final thoughts and just say I like this comic book a lot. It's one I never held up that much as a kid because as a young person, I do think I was kind of bugged by the, hey, that guy's Batman. His name is Tech Man. And you're like, oh, yeah,
Right.
like, yeah, fucking whatever.
Yeah.
But now I can kind of see some intelligence behind that now when I'm in this world of these things are such gods, that everybody on the planet is like, oh, we have to, it's time for the new Superman and Zack Snyder's Justice League and what will it be like and all this. It's like, no, I can very much relax on something that's not taking itself too seriously. And my complaints with Falcon and Winter the Soldier, where I go, every episode feels like it stops at the wrong point where it's just like, well, I kind of wish they'd wrapped this up last week when this meant more. Or, now Carly doesn't have an action scene in this one. So it's weird that you're talking about her as the bad guy so much. I don't have those pacing issues with Invincible, the show. I have these ones where I'm worried that I'm not going to get the whole sundae with the nuts and the cherry and the whipped cream. I might just get the ice cream and the fudge, but it's still pretty good. Like, it's still fucking pretty tasty, I gotta say. So, that's me.
Yeah. For me, I'm really enjoying the show so far. And I think, it really does need to rely on word of mouth to spread because I probably
I'm
wouldn't.
worried, dude.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't even have tried, checked out the series, but Colin, you told me I should, so I watched it and I enjoyed it. So definitely, if this sounds interesting to you, check it out because it might be, relying on as many people watching it as possible to maybe get a season 2 or beyond. So I definitely would like to see more of it, and I like where it's going, so I'm just going to keep watching.
Yep, same thing, yeah. Check it out. If you like it, spread the word about it. That's probably the only way something this niche will survive to a season 2 if the story warrants it. And I've been enjoying it a lot, and I'm not someone who watches, the DC animated films. Not since Mask of the Phantasm have I thrown one of those on. So it's been a while for me, but it's really got its hooks in me, and I'm impressed by it.
After episode 2, if we weren't doing a pod on this, if I had just said, you got to check out Invincible, would you have kept going?
Oh, absolutely. I have not watched Mighty Ducks since that episode.
Hey, guys, I got to be honest with you. Normies, I will not be finishing Mighty Ducks.
No.
But I got to see what happens to Lauren Graham and the hockey team.
No. But this show, probably on a watcha, we'll be able to come back and wrap up our thoughts about the finale.
Maybe.
Probably not Mighty Ducks, though. We'll see.
Totally. Agree with that. So, yeah, I hope it gets...
That's our new
I hope it gets
t-shirt.
to season 2.
Agree with that. And I
Agree with that.
Mighty Ducks, agree with
Normies, please check it out.
Please.
It sounds like anything you're interested in. I think you'll like it. And, I'm always like to see more original, content like this that's not, based on... I mean, it is based on something, right? But the thing it's based on is original, I guess. So it's not a legacy superhero like DC or Marvel.
Like the big
thing.
2, right?
It's niche. I wonder how many downloads we'll get on this one because Normies, this is one where we are pointing you towards this. We want this to be a little more normie. We want you to check it out. I want you to know a little trivia, like that all the trade paperbacks are named after sitcoms, like Perfect Strangers, 8 is Enough, or the first one, Family Matters, including the principal in the show, Reginald Val Johnson, from the TV show Family Matters, or from Die Hard. You know, I love shit like that. So,
did they do
all
that
right.
with the episode names? The episode names
I
are very
know,
strange,
because
too.
instead, like, it's like they take lines from the comics, like the line "You look mostly dead." That was the last one
that's
for the
right.
zombie one.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
just
The
a
one was
line
like,
from the
okay, that
comics.
hurt. Yeah, the fun fact that their high school is called Reginald Vell Johnson High School, and then their principal is played by voiced by Reginald Vell Johnson.
And in the comics, it looks like him too. It's just a funny thing that Robert Kirkman does for himself. I'm sure he loves Die Hard to death. So I don't know. It's weird, normies. Check it out. Check out Invincible. Check out our other episodes. Check out our socials at normies_like_us. You can reach out and say, well, I watched Invincible, and yeah, it's got to get a season 2, or no, I fucking hate that comic book. It's dumb. Well, let us know.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we've been your hosts. This is Omni Colin.
Monster Mike.
This is what was I before? Jake Explode.
Jake Explode.
It was great.
Bye, normies.
Bye.
Bye.